To lose men, to have them die trusting you. And there's only one way to learn that lesson. First time I did was on D-Day.
All right, lads, listen up. We've got till dawn to achieve our objective. See you on the other side.
Thunder!
Let's defend it! What's up?
Absolutely, mate. Fuck.
Thunder! Thunder! Oh, shoot!
Damn you, Kingsley. We pegged you as a kraut. Lucky we didn't fill you full of lead.
Nice to see you, gents. Where do we stand?
Captain didn't make it, so we're on our own now. I say we dig in and wait for the rest of the 6th Airborne to assemble.
Henry said we had till dawn to destroy the artillery. If we don't, the invasion fails.
So you fancy yourself the captain now?
Sunup's an hour away at best. There's no time for a sit-down.
Yeah, there's also no muscle and no cavalry coming to save the bloody day. The only thing we could do here is to die or try not to.
You two scrapping up who's got the bigger bollocks ain't gonna solve nothing.
Those German casemates aren't
Go on,
that far
Taff.
away. I think we can get to them in time. So I say we take them out.
The company's scattered. We're pissing in the wind at this
You
point.
know what's at stake. You all do.
This is madness.
Hey, we're beyond madness. Look, I'm with Arthur. We finished the mission.
All right, Kingsley. Looks like you're in charge now. Casemates and Valhalla are that way.
Let's fucking go.
We should get moving. What's the plan, Kingsley?
Let's get a path cleared.
You heard the Sarge. Clear that debris.
Don't blame yourself. The whole operation...
Kingsley, orders?
Those lights on the cliff. That's the coastal defense battery.
The bridge is well guarded and the bank's too steep.
We secure the bridge then. It's our only move.
You're the boss. Keep low. Watch that trap.
We have an opportunity here. Stay quiet and get close.
Targets. We've got options, Sarge.
At the fence. Take them out. They're falling back! Move up! Focus on that door!
Stop beating the door!
MG! Forward, now! Take the bridge! Suppress their MG! Keep that tower MG down! We need a grenade on the MG!
Well, that was a fucking kerfuffle.
Hey, Sarge got it done. We're still here, aren't we?
I suppose.
8 men standing against the Nazi gun fort. Richard said I got mad. Sometimes, a little madness is called for. I think deep down he understood that. And realized we were cut from the same cloth.
Web went up ahead. I think they're waiting on you, Sarge. Look at those defenses. Bloody hell. They're waiting at the table up here.
How's it looking, Sergeant?
Let's see for yourself. Let's get you the lay of the land.
Our targets are the guns housed in those casemates.
And we can only get there through a horde of Germans armed to the teeth.
Think you can handle taking out the lower gun?
I fancy my chances.
That bunker's our way in, but it's packed with MGs.
It'll be a hard push.
First job's getting across that minefield. But that anti-tank dish could be useful. I've got an idea.
I'm all ears.
We can punch a hole through the mines with those blitzers there.
And the bunker will make mincemeat out of us as soon as they hear the engines coming.
We're going quiet then. No engines. Bail at the last second, let gravity do the work. That should get us to the ditch at least. Well?
I love it. And I think you should go first.
All right then. As soon as you hit the ditch, get the men ready. Tommy, you with me?
Oh yeah, drive through the minefield, take the bunkers, drop some thermite to some highly explosive weapons. Piece of piss, Sarge.
And you, get a second sun burning in the sky. If our ships don't see that flare, if they don't know we've won, they'll fire on the guns and risk taking us with them.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think I'll take very little consolation in knowing that the fire that killed me was friendly. Don't worry, Gov. I won't forget to aim up. Truck's ready. We'll be right behind you. Godspeed, Kingsley. Truck's ready. We'll be right behind you. Godspeed, Kingsley.
Time to move. On my command, we charge! Charge! Go, go, go! Forward! Blow that back up! Push in! Bunker clear!
Ready on the door! Just waiting on you, boss!
You take the lowercase, mates. I'll take the other ones. Don't forget the flare.
Let's move up! Sarge!
All right, boys, this is it. You're on me.
Hurry!
No!
I need to clear the door! All right, lads! I'm on you! With me!
Press it fire now! Press that hard track! Now! They're falling back! Keep pushing! Take down the right hard track! Watch that hard track! Move! Move! Keep the right hard track! MG down! Nice work!
Position! More MGs incoming!
Hold the line! Focus your fire! Use the hard track! Stay behind the hard track! Don't give those MGs a target! Move this thing! Now! Stick on your lads! Stay covered! Stay behind the hard track! Don't give those MGs a target! Move this thing! Now! Stick on it, lads! Stay covered! Spread out! Surround the MG! Keep pushing, lads! Over the top! Let's go! Toss the 77!
Oh, come on, it's smoke.
Toss the 77!
What's the door?
Evans, take point!
Got it, Sarge. Lights are up. I'll cover ahead while you find a torch, Sarge. Bloody hell, it stinks in here. Sarge, torch over here. Best grab it. Bloody hell. Up ahead now. Look at that fucking monster. Never seen a 125 up close before. Let's blast the bastard, Sergeant.
One down, one to go. That's the last of the thermite.
Sarge, I could use your help, man.
Barely see a thing in here. Take it slow. Who's that? Eyes up, eyes up.
Grenade! Get down! Sounds like Webb did his part. The rest is up to us. I'll feed it to Bangalore. Let's get up top before this thing explodes.
You have the flare, Sarge? Bombardment's close. Go! Fire the flare! Sergeant, the flare! Bombardment's any minute!
Damn! Flare's low!
Fucking joke!
Where's Webb?
There! Lower casemate!
Incoming! Get down! I'm going for Webb's flare! Get everyone to cover!
We need to run forward!
Where the hell have you been? Funny time to take a kip.
I was just waiting for some mad bastard to come and save the day.
Well, let's you and I signal our boys, shall we?
We'd honored the memory of all those we lost, the only way we could, by completing the mission. You look at the soldiers under your command, and hope that they can do the difficult thing, the impossible thing. That flare told me I'd been right. This is what it means to be a leader. From all the flags waving on the streets, we'd never have known the Nazis were about to lose the war. But bullies are always loudest when they're scared. And when they're desperate, they get stupid. Commander Hermann Freisinger had killed Novak. Then he'd given us a free ride, right into the lion's den.
Read the field report twice. This Allied team is fascinating.
They have been captured. But it was too close. I want you to find out everything you can about this unit.
It will be my pleasure, sir.
You will speak of this to no one else, and report directly to me.
Heil Hitler.
Isoliate everyone. There's prisoners now on battlefield.
Christ, what is that smell?
Chlorine dioxide. They think it hides the smell of death.
Well, this is the nicest shithole I've ever been in. Is anyone else hungry?
So, I'm Hauptsturmführer Richter, and...
Piss off, crowd. Unless you got room service for us.
And I have questions for you.
How are we gonna make bloody questions?
I'm the commanding officer. You'll speak with me.
Even then, Richter was easy to read. Uniform said high rank, no combat medals. Office rat. The perfect mob. Surrounded by 3 guards, all armed. And all wankers.
In all my years studying the Allies, I have never come across such an unusual unit.
Kingsley. Arthur. Lieutenant. Service number 25232642.
Tell you a story. I have spoken with the Führer on exactly one occasion. He recommended a book to me. The Passing of the Great Race. By an American. A man named Madison Grant. The Führer had nothing but praise for him.
Fuck Madison Grant. And everyone like him.
The book reveals that under extreme duress or unfavorable conditions, your people do not deteriorate so easily.
In that moment, I knew what I had to do. Right to the suprasternal notch, below the clavicle. Once we had what we needed from this racist bastard, that's where I would put my knife. My plan began to take shape. We were being held in the basement of Gestapo headquarters. Around and above us was a treasure trove of classified Nazi intelligence. Project Phoenix had to be there somewhere, and Richter was our ticket. He thought he was the interrogator. If he was to be of any use to us, he'd have to keep thinking that. That arrogant Nazi in his clean-pressed uniform loved the sound of his own voice. The hard part wouldn't be fooling Richter into spilling what he knew of Project Phoenix. hard part would be convincing the others not to kill him first.
The Allies somehow knew about Project Phoenix. We must have a traitor amongst the officers. I pulled their files. Take care of them with the other non-essentials.
Lieutenant Kingsley mentioned a Project Phoenix. Likely Allied propaganda. The Negro thought he was protecting his team. No doubt to prove himself.
To make him their leader. The Allies must have been desperate.
He said it was their first mission. That his sixth man is dead.
He's probably lying.
I will uncover the truth.
Are there other teams like this one? How did they learn of Hamburg? Is Tempelhof at risk of being compromised? These are the things I need to know. There's more at stake here than I'm at liberty to discuss. Just know that I'm counting on you, Herr Richter.
I understand. Thank you. So.
Well, I see 10 fingers. That's a good sign at least.
Don't make a fuss. I'm fine. Listen. They know about Wade. But they haven't caught him yet.
You told him he was killed, didn't you?
On the train to Hamburg. I don't think they'll fall for it. But the hope is it'll buy him some time to get us out.
He isn't coming back for us.
He's right, Kingsley. We can't count on that fucking Drongo.
Bring out the girl.
She ain't going nowhere, mate.
Oh, just get out of my way.
Alina, Ikrajsna, uznaj, все, что можешь.
Every person on this team was a hero in their own right, long before their files ever reached my desk. But to say they were strong personalities would be a vile.
To believe what Western officials were saying in terms of the warning that President Putin was going to, or was thinking, was highly likely going to invade. They've gone from that thought to now having to think about what to do with their homes, their families, whether they should stay, whether they should move. And as we can see from the images of vehicles jamming the streets out of Kiev, heading towards the west, it does seem that people are definitely on the move now, and the West is seen as being the safer part of this country, the part that would be most difficult for Russia to take and hold, because it is at the western side of Ukraine, bordering the European Union, countries like Poland and Romania. It's where the British ambassador also moved. But for the people left behind here, it's incredibly difficult, hugely challenging. The president is calling on his allies in the West to impose these sanctions, to act now, to come to his aid. We know that that's not going to be in the form of forces on the ground, but the events that are unfolding here are going to leave a lasting impression, not just on this country, but on European security and global security for a long time.
Bring our viewers and you as well a picture we just had into us here at Sky News. This is the Russian ambassador to the UK, Andrei Kelin, arriving at the Foreign Office today. I was struck by the fact that the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Ukraine said that Ukraine has severed diplomatic relations with Russia, and I call on all our partners to do the same. There is some split in the West, isn't there, as to whether to continue talking to Russia or not.
Yes, it's interesting. We've got obviously the ambassador being summoned to the Foreign Office. Doubtless he will be getting a very strong dressing down, but will the UK and other countries go further in terms of how they respond with diplomatic ties with Russia? We've seen that over the last few weeks, the might of the West in terms of challenging President Putin and warning unprecedented sanctions would follow should he invade, has done absolutely nothing to stop the Russian leader from going ahead with what looks, by all accounts, to be a pretty significant full-scale invasion as opposed to a more limited attempt to attack this country. It really does show that for the West, for Western Western democracies, we have a lot of very powerful, very passionate words from political leaders about the need to stand up for these values that we've basically taken for granted since the end of the Cold War, since the end of the Second World War. And yet, despite all those warnings, all that rhetoric to President Putin, telling him to come back, to stand back from the brink, he has decided, he's weighed up the calculations. He knows he's going to have a lot of economic pain inflicted upon him. He knows that NATO will bolster the number of troops that it has on its eastern flank. But he clearly has calculated that the gain of acting in defiance of Western demands, acting against what he sees as an unfair distribution of power across Europe, is enough to justify incurring the cost.
Deborah, thank you. Deborah Hayes with the latest from Kiev. Stay safe out there, Deborah. We'll have more from her throughout the afternoon here on Sky News as we follow this unfolding crisis. Now, NATO members have been meeting throughout the morning, repeatedly condemning the actions of Russia. They have reiterated that there will be a new package of sanction measures announced today.
I welcome the coordinated actions announced by the European Union, NATO allies and partners. This sends a strong message of unity, and it demonstrates...
Particularly when it gets to control.
It's bad enough I have to wear this thing at all. Now it's flammable. All those years teaching me how to shoot. Wasted. Stuck in a med tent.
Don't be in a rush to fight, Butcher. Glory is worth nothing when you're dead.
But this fight, it matters.
You matter. You and Misha are all I have left.
Jag går på minja.
Hey, be nice.
I'm always nice.
Misha, what you got there? Empty bottles?
I'm training first persons.
Our commerce already know how to drink.
These will be more.
Is it wise to leave explosives to civilians?
Pleasure. You would.
На тебе летание.
That hurts.
You did that well enough.
Свечка.
Дурень.
Лягушка.
Жаба. I'm going to go late.
Sit! Now then, isn't that nice? Real family breakfast.
Bombs and bullets. Best way to start the day.
You know, you're gonna get yourself killed having that old rifle in the house, Papa.
Now who's worried too much?
So, the Germans are approaching the front line. Is that where you're off to?
No, he told me that's not what would be the most useful. So I'm training recruits at the old post.
Must be nice.
It would have been nice to get choice.
At least you get to fight.
Don't tell me at least. You fight it.
You're both doing your part. Which reminds me, if any of those Ублюдки get past us, you know where to send them.
Of course, Papa. They will never get through. Never. Please, I need to land. They're waiting for me.
I swear, he would forget to keep his own head screwed on without us.
We really are saints.
Honestly. I'll make sure he gets this on the way to their med tents.
You help your country much more than you know. And you make your old man proud.
Спасибо, Papa. should replace your old chair.
Never. It's comfy enough for me.
Misha and I were so little in this photo.
Seems like just yesterday.
So many impressive medals, Papa.
It's your mother. She always insisted we display them.
It's been a while since I played this.
You were a natural. I miss hearing you play. Be safe out there.
Crazy of you, I'm telling you. No one is going to take Russia.
You think the Germans will push into the city? Not if you're out there fighting. Milo, the new partisans I'm training will crush them before they get close.
I believe it. Good luck out there. Here to give you a better
Impossible. Morning.
Save some of our men today, huh?
Something smells good over here.
I saved the law for your family.
Forget something?
You're alive, sis.
I know. I should be going with you.
You probably should.
I have been practiced in any of these Red Army tabaki.
Keep your voice down. You don't want to make enemies here.
Fine. Just don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Couldn't even if I tried. Well, I'm shit to you. It's too bad we can't trade places. That would be great on that uniform.
At least try to make it back from that bomb making. One piece, several pieces, it's fine. I'm pretty good at putting people back together now.
Yes.
You've made me late again. I'll have to take the rooftops.
You're gonna get yourself killed climbing around up there.
I promise you can say I told you so if this happens. Now go! Finally improving. Thanks.
Have you been hearing?
Don't worry. The Red Army will handle it.
Be careful out there!
truck broke down. This way's blocked. Move along.
The medical officer will assign you. She's down the other side.
Help your country. More than that. And you make your old man proud.
Get back inside!
You have to leave Stalingrad. Now.
Obersteiner!
I should have been here, Professor.
Take care of yourself.
Tell Mama I'm off the same mission. As you.
Steiner kommt her, um diese Russen persönlich zu finden.
I think we're dead! Can you get us through now?
It was incredible.
We're going. Now.
Господи, I was so scared that you would...
Me? You're the one tied up? Take care of the others.
Оля? Папа.
He's gone.
Gone. Oh no.
Misha.
No.
Misha!
No.
We don't have time for this. We have to get your recruits out of here. If we stay here much longer, we're trapped.
You're right. Okay. Let's go.
Misha, we need to get to the vault. How do we get out of this building? Misha, focus. How can we escape to the river?
There's an exit here. We could make it down to the sewer. But the Germans have blocked the ford.
It'll be tough. Do you have any extra supplies? Weapons, anything we can use?
I know there were soldiers defending on the roof. They had a radio. There might be supplies, too.
All right. I'll lay down cover fire from there while you get our people to the sewers.
If you're sure, sister, maybe you can raise the roof for me up there. That should get you to the roof. I'll give you a boost.
I'll find a good place to cover you.
I know. I've always been a better shot than me.
The Pasha's with me now. And I know he wouldn't want us to die in this post office to a bunch of ubliotki.
He would be proud of you.
He would be proud of us. Get our people to the sewer. I'll lay down fire from the roof.
Do music, yeah?
I never do.
Once we're out of the Malina, can you hear me? I'm on the radio. Блядь, I'm not receiving. Ой, Боже, I hope you listen to me for once. We are pinned down in the crater by the door. Malina, we'll start with a sewer and we'll save Ready to move to the sewer when you open fire. Malina, we'll start with a sewer and we'll signal. Waiting for your first shot before we start getting to the sewer. Other side of the crater! I think it's building with you.
Surviving Stalingrad was no small feat. Escaping it, even greater. But no one really escaped something like that. The Nazi war machine had touched all our lives, burned away something important. I think that's what made us attracted to the SOE in the first place. For Polina, the wound was marrow deep. She was destined to return to favor. And that had made her the deadliest member of my team.
Such a touching story. You couldn't even save the life of your own father. So tell me, why isn't Ivy with an old rifle part of a top-secret Allied operation?
You do not scare me, little mouse.
You misunderstand me, Fräulein. I do not need you to fear me. I need only your screams. That will convince your friends to talk.
Why? Because I am a woman.
Tell me, what other missions the Allies have? Tell me.
Demonstrate how low.
What is the EU?
It goes quite.
Fräulein.
The current price right now is
News of traffic leaving the capital which people thought would be relatively safe if Russian ramped up aggression. But it turns out nowhere is looking safe at the moment. It's so uncertain.
My story together.
Yeah, I think if the worst comes to the worst, we'll head west towards maybe Moldova, Poland, for example. We do have suitcases packed already. We have all sorts of petrol in the car and jerry cans, so we could in theory actually leave in 5-10 minutes and then head to where we hope we'll be.
Herr Freisenberg, I was just coming to see you. We have confirmation from the book. The sixth ally is dead.
Is that so?
An American arrested at Tempelhof, trying to steal a plane. This makes no sense.
Prisoners made a fool of you, Richter. And now you have made a fool of me! The American is being brought here now. If I must interrogate him myself, then I have no use for you.
Just trying to be nice.
What did you tell them?
We traded torture tips. Relax. I told the same lies as you.
Did he believe you?
I stopped asking when I brought up Freisinger.
When we get out of here, the first thing I'm going to do is head to the pictures. See Les Trois Mousquetaires. Let Edith Merard break my heart all over again. And you, Lucas? What's the first thing you'll do when we're out of here?
Hey. When I get home, I'm eating Lamingtons for a week. All cakes, all the time.
I know what you miss.
Yeah. I'd like to have that sweet bird Barbara pour me pints in my local until I forget the Symphony War ever happened. I don't even know if she's still alive.
Everyone I love is dead. And the only time I feel anything is when I watch a German beg for his life. So, I am exactly where I need to be.
Wade showed up just as I'd hoped. He played his part well without even knowing my plan. The team had written him off, but I was counting on him being his usual charming self.
Try that again, Crowd, and we're gonna have a real fucking problem. Your team lied about you, Lieutenant. Lieutenant. Now, is that so hard? Finally, some respect.
I know you're sick. What did you want with that plane?
You Nazis. You make me miss fighting in the stinking Pacific.
I want to know what else is mine.
Wade had talked himself out of worse situations. If you heard him talk about Midway, you could tell he was no stranger to hyperbole. Every time Wade told his story, it was a little different. He added a wing of zeros or another aircraft carrier to his tally. But I read the reports about what happened that day. If Wade was exaggerating, it was only by a little.
Remember, the primary objective is destroying the two Japanese carriers. VS and VB squadrons will each take one. Fighting Squadron 6 will provide cover. If the weather holds, we'll be in and out before they know what hit us. This wind will give us the Pacific. Now go out there and get the carriers.
As if this operation wasn't hard enough. Now the entire war's in the line?
Relax, Hernandez. I was born for this.
Not too sure I was. Vamos, Jackson.
They finished repairs on the plane this morning. She's waiting for us on the flight deck. She has a name. You name the plane. Our plane? You didn't say anything. You never asked. The intel boys got the position right. Better. If we pull this off, they'll be writing about us in history books. Yeah, well, I'd rather not do mystery today, so do us both a favor and keep the crazy stunts to a minimum. Stunts? Ouch. You ever wonder why you haven't been promoted yet? Why is that, smart ass? Because this isn't the Wade Jackson show. I mean, this is war. All of us just want to win and go home. You worry about trying to steal yourself, my tail. I'll get us home. Hey, hold the elevator! got you, Jackson. Take us up! How many medals do you think we'll win if we pull this off, Jackson?
After today, they're gonna have to name one after me, Miller.
Just remember we're a team up there. And stay in formation next time in the sack will have both your stripes.
Formations just slow me down.
You see what I have to deal with? Look at that. It's a beautiful day to fly. Let's hope it stays that way. It's time! Manos a la masa! I like you, Jim Buck says I down more serious than you, Jackson! Come on, man! Don't encourage him! Radio check for sugar.
But for now, yeah, we...
It's 3 o'clock. This is the Daily News Show. The headlines: Russia launches an invasion of Ukraine. This afternoon across Kiev. Under attack, an airbase in the west of the country is one of several targets hit by missiles. Armoured vehicles and helicopters secure a power plant on the other side of the country. A Russian flag is raised in Ukrainian territory, but President Zelensky promises to fight. Sky News sees Ukrainians queuing to give blood as war returns to Europe. A massive sanction response is promised. The Champions League final has been pulled from St. Petersburg. The Russian president is defiant.
Whoever tries to injure us will do so to create threats to our country, to our people. Should know that Russia's response will be immediate. It will lead you to such consequences that you have never encountered in your history.
Ukraine is now defending will not give up our independence. The right to live in our own country will remain valid.
For all his bombs and tanks and missiles, I don't believe that the Russian dictator will ever subdue the national feeling of the Ukrainians and their passionate belief that their country should be free.
In the last hour, Western officials have said Russia is intent on seizing a large section of Ukraine. Overnight, the invasion began with the Russians saying they were carrying out targeted airstrikes. An exodus from Kiev is underway. There's been turmoil on the markets and fresh spikes in energy prices. One analyst is now predicting that the UK energy cap could rise to around £3,000 by October. That would be a further jump of around 33%. Well, let's take a look at what we know so far about what's been happening inside Ukraine in the last few hours. President Putin said he began a special military operation in the Donbass this morning in eastern Ukraine, but within minutes of that announcement, multiple explosions were heard in Ukraine's capital, Kiev. There were also explosions heard in the city of Kharkiv, which is in the northeast of the country, and Ukraine's emergency services reported shelling in the western city of Lviv, which is only 70 kilometres from the country's border with Poland. Multiple blasts have been heard in the city of Mariupol, which is in the southeast. Reuters journalists there have seen tanks, which they believe belong to Ukrainian military, heading towards the city. In Odessa, local authorities say at least 18 people were killed in an airstrike. Ukraine's border guard agency is saying that the Russian military attacked from neighbouring Belarus and that Russia has been moving military equipment from annexed Crimea into Ukraine. Dozens of civilians are reported to have been killed in missile strikes and shelling that's been taking place across the country. In the latest reported attack, local leaders in Donetsk say 4 people were killed when Russian forces hit a hospital. Ukraine say more than 40 of its soldiers have been killed and 50 Russian troops have died, although there's no confirmation of that from Russia. Russia's defense ministry says it has destroyed 74 Ukrainian military facilities, including 11 air bases. Meanwhile, Central European countries that include Poland, Hungary and Slovakia say they are now preparing for an influx of refugees from Ukraine. Sky's Alec Fortescue has more.
As Kiev woke to the sound of the first distant explosions and air raid sirens being tested. Footage is emerging of what's happening on the ground in Ukraine. What we believe shows a missile strike on an airbase in the west of the country. An offensive launched by a neighbour.
Some very, very important words for those who could be tempted to intervene from outside. Whoever tries to hinder us, and even more so to create threats to our country, to our people, should know that Russia's response will be immediate, and it will lead you to such consequences that you have never encountered in your history.
Here, the aftermath of a missile attack in the south of Kiev. Casualties and reports of civilian deaths are emerging. So far, the signs are that this is much bigger than a limited incursion.
We are all Ukrainian citizens, and we are now defending our country. We'll fight for our country. We'll support our country in the squares of each town, and the armed forces are ready to protect our country. We will not give up our independence.
In Armyansk, in the Crimean Peninsula, Russian military convoys have been seen heading towards the Ukrainian border. We believe this video shows Russian tanks, helicopters and soldiers arriving at the power plant in Kharkiv. Explosions heard across several cities. Explosions have been heard across several cities, seen too by Western allies.
President Putin of Russia has unleashed war in our European continent. He's attacked a friendly country without any provocation and without any credible excuse. Innumerable missiles and bombs have been raining down on an entirely innocent population. In concert with our allies, we would agree a massive package of economic sanctions designed in time to hobble the Russian economy. For all his bombs and tanks and missiles, I don't believe that the Russian dictator will ever subdue the national feeling of the Ukrainians and their passionate belief that their country should be free.
And And all the while, the military assault continues. This is an airport in the city of Mariupol, a Ukrainian port town, less than 12 miles from the nearest trenches in the eastern Donbass region. And in the west, on the border with Poland, Ukrainians are fleeing.
I'm of Ukrainian heritage, and to see this happening to the country is just devastating. I just can't believe someone could be so evil.
This is a country gripped by panic. Ukrainians are queuing to give blood. And the roads west out of Kiev gridlocked. What all of this means for the world order will unfold later. For now, though, the focus is on the ordinary people caught in conflict. Ali Borgescu, Sky News.
Let's take you now to the Ukrainian ambassador. He is Vadim Christenko. He's giving a news conference, the Ukrainian ambassador to the UK. Let's listen in.
We knew how bad they dictated, but we didn't expect that Belarusians will betray us as a nation, as a friendly nation on our north. Russians came from all four sides. They're trying to take all of our territory. They're taking a couple of towns. We see people being killed, both civilians and military personnel. We don't have the exact number, but the number you see on Ukrainian media and your media reporting from Ukraine are correct. We can report of those. We can actually check our headquarters of Ukrainian armed forces to see the losses. But we're putting up a real fight. We're trying to get as many Russians to another world as possible as well. Tanks, helicopters, planes being shot down. We are defending our land. Unfortunately, some of the places very difficult to defend. They are now blocked the whole sea. We can have access to the Black Sea and Sea of Azov. They started it and blocked it and formally explained it as terrorist attack in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, which, limiting our capabilities of bringing the reinforcement or even the supplies. One of the supplies we will need quite soon, quite critically. There is not just military supplies, but humanitarian supplies, the fuels, because they are targeting specifically fuel depots and the infrastructure, critical infrastructure, dams, bridges. Now they tried, and at the process we are fighting over the airfield of Antonov Design Bureau, which is 15 minutes, 20 minutes from Kiev, civilian airport belonging to Antonov company. So that's more or less the situation right now on the ground. I'm more than happy to talk to you and have your specific questions. Thank you.
Can I just ask you, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he is going to announce the tougher sanctions later today. What specific sanctions do you want to see? And are you disappointed that the SWIFT banking system hasn't come into place?
I prepared for each and every one of you. I'll give it to you. This is the list of sanctions. In the financial sphere only, you will have it by the end of this conversation, but the SWIFT is here as well. We want SWIFT, we want the Russian Central Bank to be sanctioned. We have a list of very heavy sanctions. We believe that these sanctions, if they are introduced, will have Putin seriously to reconsider what he's doing.
I think that SWIFT is not going to be introduced.
As of now, we don't see it. I know that was discussed. It was referred as very grave and hellish sanctions, but for many reasons, they are not introduced yet. I hope that after our conversations with the UK, we will see how the new sanctions updated.
I just have another question, which is, you are basically one of the most powerful armies in the world. Do you actually need military support in terms of boots on the ground to be able to stand a chance to repel this attack?
At this particular moment, we have enough people, we don't have enough equipment. But yes, but we were quite open. I myself was quite open, telling that at a particular time when our existence as a nation, as 40 million nation, would come to real question, we will ask everything on top of equipment support, financial support, fuels, humanitarian aid, everything we've been already discussing.
Greg McKenzie from BBC News. In terms of British government and the wider community, you kind of answered it just there. What more do you want to see in terms of this coming to an end?
We wanted something which only NATO can provide. We wanted no-fly zone over Ukraine. This is very serious, very professional military talk, which we have to have with your people, with the rest of NATO allies. It is very serious, dramatic move. I am not pre-telling right now what would come as a result of this conversation, but this is radical conversation we'll have to talk. Everything else we're discussing right now. Our ministers of defense will talk in around 4 or 5 hours. We will just send it over the request of some particular equipment. We're using, by the way, those equipment which was provided by you, and NLAVs were used today, Bayraktars were used today to destroy Russian tanks and armored vehicles.
Do you think it can be stopped?
We hope, all of us hope, that he will be stopped. The losses are already unbearable, at least for us. Maybe he can survive these losses. Maybe his society is not prepared, like ourselves, to cherish each and every life. For us, it's very painful.
And just lastly, in terms of you being here and not in Ukraine and the future for you, maybe the possibility that you might never be able to go back. How is that?
We haven't been considering. We have we had the meeting today at the embassy because all of us have their families back, the parents, the brothers, sisters. It's very painful for us. At the same time, we know how many of your nationals are in Ukraine right now. We are in consultation with your governments, how to get these people out, how to help those citizens and even Ukrainian citizens who are members of the family. So this is a very painful and very difficult conversation we have to have right now to find out how we can help them. Don't forget that the sky is closed. We did it because we want to avoid any danger to any commercial flights of any nations. Remember MH17, how they've been shot down by the separatists over our territory, but in controlled sphere. We wanted to avoid this. We now have to understand how we can actually get people in and out. The sea is blocked. We have only, that's the western borders of Ukraine land bridge.
Ambassador, are you expecting more escalation in Kiev itself, other than what we've seen?
15 minutes from Kiev, this airport, if they take over this airport, they will use it for the paratroopers, and heavy ammunition, heavy tanks to get, because from the border by land, you will have to cross 100 kilometers of well defended roads and the fields. And Ukrainians are fighting right now. They are close to Kharkiv, which is the second biggest city. They took a couple of smaller towns in the south of Ukraine. They came from Crimea, where they stationed, because we allowed them in 1991 to stay until 2017. We always knew that we have to get rid of them because sooner or later they will use these bases. Now they're using against us. They're coming into southern parts of the Ukrainian mainland, trying probably to secure this water channel, which is coming from major Ukrainian river Dnieper, which used to supply Crimea when Crimea was part of Ukrainian territory.
So you are expecting Russian ground forces, if they can manage, you are expecting them in the capital in Kiev?
We talked with our government, with our ministers, and the situation in Kiev as well. There's groups of saboteurs, even police, the internal forces, the National Guard. It's not just for armed forces, they're fighting with them now.
Can I just ask you, in the run-up to this, your president had a very calm tone. He was, as we all understand, trying to stow too much panic, but it seems that most Ukrainians didn't expect this huge scale of the attack. Were we prepared enough as a country, as a government? Did this come as a bit of a surprise, maybe even for you, the scale of it?
Some Ukrainians believe that we'd be much better prepared if we didn't allow our nuclear weapons to be transferred to Russia in 1994 in exchange of guarantees, which are obviously not working. They failed to divert this attack, which is happening right now. The rest of Ukrainians believe that we've been living in a marriage within the Soviet Union, if you want me to put this way, for so many years that they wouldn't come to kill their brothers and sisters. We have so many family contacts, so many business contacts, cultural contacts. That's why Ukrainians could not even wrap their head around this, how it can actually happen. Zelensky, the president himself, he lived in Moscow. He was mentioned for a couple of times for 10 years, working there. So for many Ukrainians, it's unthinkable.
So it's fair to say that for a lot of the Ukrainian population, just the sheer scale of the attack was a bit of a surprise.
And the scale, although we were talking to most of and I had the privilege to talk, we were discussing most of the ways, and most of the ways we sort of foresaw at that time were now happening. Like they're coming through the excursion zone of Chernobyl. This zone is not protected because there is radiation, nobody lives there. They now came through this particular unprotected part of our borders through Belarusian territory. So everything is happening as we saw it before.
Just also want to ask you, do you think that President Zelensky and the rest of the government took the intelligence warnings from the US and Israel seriously in the run-up to the crisis when they were saying that they do expect a large-scale invasion to happen?
Being today, where I am now and where we all of us now, we can say that we should have started much earlier, and maybe decades ago, to invest more in our army, to prepare ourselves. Not many people in Ukraine believed that we had. That's why we were actually trying to get into NATO all these years, because we always believed that they would come. But you know, how real it is, when there's this difference between what you do as a political figure, a political person, and what you're actually preparing your nation to sacrifice to defend ourselves. We had probably to divert more of our budget, and it's not huge, for the army. You know, we had to increase the number of people to be able to defend. But the war is not over. We are fighting right now. People dying as we speak.
Якщо коротко, то основні наші пропозиції домовитися з світ закрити небо.
Я вам передам зараз ви побачите. We are talking about what we expect to be done in Ukraine for Ukrainian public as well. Припинити операції в російському рублі, санкціонувати Центральний банк Росії, прикрити SWIFT, відключити від Visa і MasterCard, всі рахунки за кордоном, які належать руським громадянам, викинути звідси олігархів, які знаходяться в Лондоні в цій системі фінансів. Це багато заходів, які зробляться. We will hand over all of it, that's enough copies for each and every one of you. I will. Okay, absolutely. I will do it. The ban energy trade with Russia. This is very painful. I understand it won't be easier for many nations, but that's something which we believe to have the most of effect. The ban for investments in Russia prohibited Western governments' pension funds from investing in Russian assets. Sanction secondary trading of Russian debts and equities. Sanction Russian central bank. We believe that's something even harder than SWIFT. The SWIFT is also here. The withdraw Russia out of bond and equity investment indexes. Disconnect Russia from Visa and MasterCard. Freeze foreign Russian assets, sanction Russian direct investment funds, and expand personal sanctions to all those in Western lists of sanctions and their families. Freeze of assets, visa cancellation, passport revocation, and repatriation back to Russia. That's the whole list. You will have to copy each and every one of them.
Will that list be enough to stop Vladimir Putin continuing this?
I would be happy to see NATO forces on our land to be able really to stop them. We have to fight ourselves. We're doing it right now. We will see how the sanctions, if they are introduced, what effect they will have.
You would like to see NATO forces go into Ukraine?
Me personally, yes. I was Ukrainian ambassador to NATO. I understand that this force exists in our part of the globe who can match the mighty Red Army.
Just one more question. Do you think that the UK needs to be a bit stricter for the oligarchs, the Russian oligarchs that are here and that have been at home here that have close ties to Putin's regime?
We're one of those nations who can share our own experience, how Russian dirty money can corrupt our system. And this money, especially with the gas trade and oil trade, corrupted our system to the bone. That's how most of the Ukrainian oligarchs appeared on the map of an existence. So everybody who touches the money, this touches any system, any banking system, any nation, they will bring this devastation at them. So the Great Britain doesn't have to follow this example. They can learn from our experience that this money, most of them, is stolen from the Russian.
I just bought us our digital rail cards on the train line.
What?
Tickets and rail cards in the same place.
44 past the hour, looking beyond our borders, the renewed tensions between Russia and Ukraine shine a spotlight on the long history between the two nations. A history filled with conflict, with Russia usually, always being the aggressor, as Russia believes Ukraine is part of Russia instead of being its own nation with its own identity. With me now to take a closer look at this is Andrea Chalupa. She is a journalist and author, as well as co-host of the podcast Gaslit Nation. She spent time living in Ukraine and wrote the 2019 film Mr. Jones, which tells the story of a journalist who witnessed the truth about a devastating famine that killed millions of Ukrainians in the 30s, a famine created by the Soviet Union. Andrea, your parents came from Ukraine. What do you think we as Americans don't know about that land?
I think it's important for everyone to stay grounded in the fact that Ukraine is a country with an ancient history going back several centuries. They identify with this history. When we had the 2014 Revolution of Dignity, known as Euromaidan, a popular uprising launched by the internet generation in Ukraine, the kids, the people that came up with the internet. It was launched by a Facebook post by an Afghani-born journalist by the name of Mustafa Nayyem. When they launched that revolution, they had murals to some of Ukraine's greatest thinkers, like the feminist playwright Lesya Ukrainka, the women of Ukraine, Taras Shevchenko, and others. So even though Ukraine politically as a country has only been around for about, not very long, like 30 years in recent history, but the spiritual identity of being their own force, their own people, their own culture goes back several centuries before even Moscow existed. So I think that's important to keep in mind. You have statues to some of Ukraine's cultural founders, like the men and women of the very large and significant kingdom known as Kiev Rus. They married off princesses and princes across Europe. Anne of Kiev is a very strong example of Ukraine's ancient ties to Europe going back many centuries. And all of this is significant because Putin has been trying to co-opt this history for Russia, which is part of his Soviet aims to bring back the Russian Empire.
Yeah, I mean, Ukraine may be an independent country since 1991, but it has such a rich history of...
To help us understand the current situation in Ukraine, let's look back at its modern history. As the dust settled after World War I, Ukraine was defeated and divided, and the Soviets controlled much of the country. In 1922, Ukraine, along with Russia, became the founding members of the Soviet Union. Fast forward to 1932 when the Great Famine began, and up to 10 million Ukrainians starved to death. Part of the reason why it got so bad was because of the policies of the new head of the Communist Party, Joseph Stalin. Then came the Great Terror. 2 waves of Stalinist political repression and persecution resulted in the killing of some 681,000 people, including 80% of the Ukrainian cultural elite and 3/4 of all the Ukrainian Red Army's higher-ranking officers. Then came the outbreak of World War II. German armies invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941. Beginning 4 straight years of non-stop total war. In the Battle of Kiev, Axis troops encircled and laid siege to the capital city. More than 600,000 Soviet soldiers were killed or taken captive there. The total losses inflicted upon the Ukrainian population during the war are estimated between 5 and 8 million, including over 500,000 Jews killed by Nazi death squads. More than 700 cities and towns and 28,000 villages were destroyed. Material losses comprised an estimated 40% of Ukraine's national wealth. But Ukraine bounced back, and its economy boomed. Industrial output doubled from 1940 to 1955. Before long, Ukraine was a European leader in industrial production and an important center of the Soviet arms and high-tech research industries. Ukraine was producing many prominent Soviet sports players, scientists, and artists over this period, as well as much of the Soviet leadership, including Leonid Brezhnev, who ousted Khrushchev and became the Soviet leader from 1964 to 1982. On the 26th of April 1986, a reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded, resulting in the worst nuclear reactor accident in history. The Soviet Union began to break apart under the weight of the War of Laws, which was the constant conflict between the Soviet federal government and its various republics, who were each seeking greater autonomy. On August 24, 1991, the Ukrainian parliament officially declared independence. But then the economy immediately sank into depression and lost 60% of its GDP from 1991 to 99. A new currency, the hryvnia, was introduced in 1996. The economy was stabilized by the end of the 90s. Corruption under Ukraine's second president set the stage for the 2004 ascendance of then Prime Minister Viktor Yanukovych to the presidency in elections that the Ukrainian Supreme Court ruled were rigged. Yanukovych was then thrown out of power in the peaceful Orange Revolution in favor of opposition leaders Viktor Yushchenko and Yulia Tymoshenko, who became president and prime minister. Yanukovych then regained the prime ministership in 2006, but lost a snap election just a year later that saw Tymoshenko become prime minister again. This map of those 2007 election results showed just how divided Ukraine is politically. Then came the January 2009 natural gas crisis, in in which Russia stopped supplying gas to Ukraine in the middle of winter. Since Ukraine is itself the main supply route to much of Europe, this was a pretty big problem. Timoshenko eventually signed an agreement to reopen the pipes, but not before Ukraine incurred major economic losses. As a result of the political fallout, Yanukovych, who just does not go away, was elected president again in 2010. And in October 2011, Timoshenko was sentenced to 7 years in prison for abuse of office because she signed the natural gas deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin. In 2012, the European Union and Ukraine began negotiations for it to join the 28-nation group. President Yanukovych urged the parliament to adopt laws so that Ukraine would meet the EU's criteria. But Russia does not want this to happen, and responded by starting a trade war that resulted in a 10% decline in Ukrainian export revenue from the previous year, or $1.5 billion in losses, bringing us to the 3-month-old Euromaidan protests, which began at the end of 2013, when Yanukovych, who was feeling the economic pressure, abruptly suspended efforts to join the EU. He then turned around and signed an agreement with Putin, who offered $15 billion in financial aid and a 33% discount on Russian natural gas. As a result, the protests have escalated and become more violent, with many now calling for the ouster of Yanukovych and a rejection of the Russian deal in favor of a complete embrace of Europe. Thanks for watching this episode of The Daily Conversation. If you feel all caught up on Ukraine like I do, hit that like button so we can help spread this video. For TDC, I'm Bryce.
Tensions are rising over the conflict in eastern Ukraine after a massive Russian military build-up near its border with the region. More than 100,000 Russian troops have been strategically placed close to the border they share with Ukraine. And many experts are seriously worried. So, are we on the brink of a new war?
We're now at a stage where Russia could at any point launch an attack on Ukraine. I would say that's more stark than we have been.
To understand what's going on, we're going to explain the Russia-Ukraine conflict and how it's led to what's happening today. First, let's look at how Russia and Ukraine are linked. Their history goes back as far as the 9th century, when a group of people called the Rus moved their capital to Kiev. During the 10th and 11th centuries, it became the largest and most powerful state in Europe. It laid the foundation for the national identity of Ukrainians and Russians. So what would become Russian culture began in Kiev before moving east to Moscow. Ukraine would become part of the Russian Empire for centuries and would also be part of the USSR. Putin is obsessed by Russia and Ukraine's long pre-1991 history as one country. In July 2021, Putin released an epic 7,000-word essay about their shared history, in which he said, quote, "I am confident that true sovereignty of Ukraine is possible only in partnership with Russia, for we are one people." The thing is, most Ukrainians don't agree with that version of history. Also fueling Putin's obsession with Ukraine is the events of 1991. Putin, as a young KGB intelligence officer, watched the Berlin Wall crumble, his beloved Soviet Union collapse. Since then, he's been on a mission to return Russia to what he believes is its rightful place on the world stage. The fall of communism at the end of the Cold War saw the former Soviet states turn westward, ditching their Russian rulers and turning to Europe's west and the US to create new economic, political, and cultural futures. In 1991, Ukraine gained its independence from the Soviet Union. For 31 years, Ukraine has had its own sovereignty and been an independent country. But that independence hangs in the balance. Putin is driven by a sense of righting what he sees as history's wrongs. He wants to reverse what he views as the humiliating breakup of the Soviet Union more than 30 years ago. But also at the heart of this conflict is NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation. NATO was founded in 1949 after World War II to protect against Soviet aggression. The treaty states that if one nation is invaded or attacked by a third party, all nations in NATO will collectively mobilise in its defence. The alliance has since expanded to 30 countries, including a number of former USSR states. The Kremlin is furious at those former Soviet states joining the treaty, seeing NATO's presence on Russia's border as a threat. Putin has demanded guarantees from NATO that Ukraine and Georgia, another former Soviet republic that Russia briefly invaded in 2008, never be allowed to join the alliance. But NATO allies say Putin cannot deny Ukraine or any country that right. Ukraine has long fought to join NATO and is still working on making that goal a reality. To say Putin hates NATO would be an understatement. April 2008 was the last time Putin attended a NATO meeting. The Russian president said then that allowing Ukraine to join NATO would be a direct threat to Russian security. He told the US and German leaders, quote, "For me, Ukraine is not a real country." Russia claims that in the early 90s, at the end of the Cold War, the US pledged that they would not let NATO expand eastward. That claim has been debunked, including by the former Russian President Gorbachev. The topic was never discussed. Now, those arguments are completely ignored by Vladimir Putin. So they're the historical ties between Russia and Ukraine. In the next video, we'll explain how and why the conflict started in 2013 and whether it might lead to an all-out war.
Mr. President, we have found a way to hack into the U.S. power grid. Millions of businesses will be plunged into darkness, and all air traffic will be grounded. Will anyone be poisoned? Well, no. But this is 21st century, a well-governed by sophisticated computer technology. The damage will be immense. I like it when people get poisoned. I like it when their faces turn blue. Think of the leverage it will give us. Very well. Essentially.
something new for you too. Not a new game, but a vending machine which sells them. I'll just explain the system.
Hear you loud and clear. Intercom's working fine. Hey, they're signaling for pre-flight check. Check the elevators in the back. All right, elevators are good. Okay, Jackson, let's check the ailerons. Right wing's good. Great, now the left aileron. Left wing's good. All right, do an engine run-up. Make sure she doesn't blow out. She's burning. She sounds good. Ease off, Jackson.
Sugar 17, this is Tower. Just clear for takeoff.
Okay, let's get her in the air. Ready, Hernandez? As ready as I'll ever be strapped to you. All right, here we go. Full power. Por favor, no fancy tricks. You're no fun. This isn't supposed to be fun, pendejo. So, you gonna tell me her name or what? Which one? The plane. This plane. You still hung up on that? Well, what do you want to talk about? Fine, keep your secrets.
Sugar 10 to all Victor aircraft. Who's out of formation?
Something's not right.
Oh my god!
Holy shit! Goddamn Zeros out of nowhere! They're on our torpedo bombers. Fighters aren't here yet. S-17, get on those bandits. Already on it. You got our tail, Hernandez? Empties out! Keep them off the torpedo bombers. Mayday, mayday, I gotta bail! They're on my 6, I need some help. Might be punching out! Taking too much heat! On the flock here! Nice work, Ace. Good job, boys. We splashed them. Watch that flat, boys. Coming up on the fleet. Japanese fleet below us. Keep steady. Mayday, mayday. I gotta bail, boys. Hernandez. Give it tight. Watch that tracer fire. That's 2. Angel 3. You're clear of those AAs. Angel 2. All bombers, get close. Use your scope. Almost! Now, goddammit, now! Come up, come up! Good job, S-17. We're really taking the Hornets, man! Guys, full of zeros. We gotta shoot our way out of this. Can't stand without those AA guns taking us out. Stay low for now, boys. Come on, some more zeros. God damn, there's so many! It's getting crowded out here. We need help! Mayday, mayday, mayday! Back shot, pendejo! You're not getting away. Incoming reinforcements. There's more of them. Launching another way. Say, where are they all coming from?
bombers are down. Getting picked off, we need to climb. DD Squadron is not responding. Losing too many. And a 0 on my 6. Not today. How are we supposed to do this? Half the squadron's down. Watch 3. S-17 to all pilots with bombs. Tighten and head up. We're going for the last dot. Whoa, what? Get as high as we can. Do the second dot. They're right on our tail. Oh, shit. Why is it still shooting at us? Haul ass. Almost out of range. Did we lose them? I don't see them. Hit, one hit! Ah, fuck! S-17, you took the beating there. You good? She's gone. 0, dead ahead. Coming hot. Take him out. Don't break formation. Gotta put it through. That second carrier. Who has bombs? S-18 has bombs. S-3 has bombs. S-17 has one. Anyone else? Okay. S-17 and S-18, it's all on you. Form up behind us and take the shot. Gonna be by the skin of our teeth, isn't it? It'll be close enough. All aircraft, draw fire from S-17. Altitude. Altimeter's busted. Think you better hang on back there. I'm hit! Watch it out! Jackson, it's on you! Feeling steady! 200 more! A little farther! Almost! Now, Jackson!
Have been called a hotshot than a hero. That was his contradiction. He is one of the war's greatest pilots, but he needed a team. The problem was getting him to admit it.
Hey guys. Don't everybody rush over at once. I'm fine.
Isn't this a nice little reunion? You lied to me.
For all we knew, he was dead. So you can fuck off.
Really?
Hitler is dead.
What? How? Was it the Allies?
Reports indicate he took his own life. But
without the Führer, we are lost.
Hardly. I trust you have new information.
As you suspected, the American was the sixth man. But I believe I have finally broken them.
It saddens me to see the fatherland defied by filthy Russians, no less. There's nothing left for us here. If the Reich is to live on, I must know there is safe passage to Tempelhof. I was counting on you, Richter. But you've proven non-essential.
No, sir, no. I will get you what you require. I swear.
Your time is short.
I understand. Mein Führer.
I'm gonna kill him.
Richter is on to us. We're out of time.
I tried to nab us a getaway plane, but that didn't work. And by the time I got here, you guys were already locked up. So I borrowed a bomb from the Ruskies and turned myself in. We got about an hour before that wall blows wide open and we waltz right out of here.
If we live that long? I can't trust him. He's just a fucking pilot.
A fucking ace pilot is what you mean.
I'm with the lady. What the hell do you know about explosives?
Yeah? Well, fuck you too, then.
I'll tell you why we can trust him.
Here we go.
Wade's more than capable of getting us out. Files in hand. Dangerous thing in the skies. But if you fly too close to the sun, eventually, wings will get burned.
Alright. Okay. I'll get you out of here, but it's gonna hurt like hell. Hey, come on. When are you gonna get it through that thick skull of yours? You can't just... Hey, Wade. Wade, you stay with me. Wade, come on, man. No, you're not. Wake up. Wake up. Wade. Nah, today's not the day.
Tensions are rising over the conflict in eastern Ukraine.
cutting off Russia from that system, a lot of payments would be blocked and the economy would clearly suffer. Now, Boris Johnson has intimated for a number of weeks that he's pretty keen that this sanction can be imposed, but I think he and President Biden realise that this needs international cooperation and agreement, and certainly in some European capitals there isn't agreement that this is a good path to go down, partly because...
I need to find out where we lost. I'm gonna have to leave you here. Think about the Yankees.
What? You know I'm a doctor. Son of a bitch! Bedside manner sucks.
You're welcome, pendejo. I need your gun. Lost mine in the crash. The one you caused.
What am I supposed to do?
Keep yourself bandaged up. I don't want you bleeding out and missing all the fun. I gotta sight till I get back.
Mateo, I'm coming, buddy. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Any and all friendly units within range of this transmission. Lieutenant Wade Jackson requesting immediate support. Any Americans on this damn rock? Damn. Tail! Hang on, buddy. I'm coming.昼前までの奴らも観念するさ。こいつら何も喋らん。二人とも殺していくぞ。いや、まだ時間はあるぞ。衛兵どもがここに来るまでしばらくかかる。Do you speak Japanese?
Woke up. They're still alive.
Yeah. No shit.
Cut them free. I'm aviation machinist mate, third class Hernandez. The ungrateful one is Lieutenant Jackson. We got shot down. That's why we're here. Sergeant James Washington, Army, 93rd Infantry Division. Lenny, patch these men up.
You got any planes? We need to get back up there.
Planes? We lucky they gave us ammo. That one's dead weight. Just gonna slow us down.
I'm right here.
You know how to use a gun?
Went through basic just like you.
I got control of the stick now, Lieutenant. You're just the one who Let's get moving. Give over Hernandez.
got with some giant, Kibble.
Who?
All right, on me. Hey, white boy don't even know who heavyweight champ Jack Johnson is. Eyes up, people. Long way to go. Better than loading trucks, that's for damn sure.
Hey, you guys said you were 93rd. Never heard of her.
Bet you ain't never met a Negro before, Negro. We ain't exactly a credit shit business.
Hold up.
See something?
No. But when that sniper got Thompson, it was on the bridge just like this.
So how do we cross?
We draw the snipers out. Pilfrey, your name's up.
Hope there's grits in heaven.
Live bait?
You volunteering? Hell no. Then shut your mouth and keep those eagle eyes on the canopy. Go! Smoke! When I give the word, I want to see your best testimony.
Who?
Means run fucking fast. Now!
Everyone all right? Still got all my parts.
Okay, we need to get to that tree line, into the grass, and stay low.
Regroup under the trees if you make it to the other side.
Going for it. Kill.
The Sarge tells you to eat your food. Hold your breath. Man's
Stay low. Under the trees if you make it to the other side.
Close now. Search the canopy.
that tree over there.
Open fire on that tree.
What the hell? Why the ropes? These crazy motherfuckers strap themselves up in trees.
What are we doing out here anyway?
Brad shipped in the 93rd to help the 23rd take this rock.
There's a Japanese base not far from here. It's protected by a hollowed-out ridge.
The rest of my boys are stuck behind a locked door. And we're the key.
The hell does that mean?
Wait, just shut up and do what he said.
Clear out that bridge. Move on that base.
Hey, how are we gonna get into that bridge, Booker?
Crazy motherfuckers strap themselves up in trees.
What are we doing out here anyway?
Brad shipped in the 93rd to help the 23rd take this rock.
Japanese base not far from here. It's protected by a hollowed-out ridge.
The rest of my boys are stuck behind a locked door. And we're the key.
The hell does that mean?
Wait, just shut up and do what he said.
Clear out that bridge. Move on that base.
Hey, how are we gonna get into that ridge, Booker?
Knock. Loud.
Hey, how about we play these fools some Duke Ellington? Everybody loves Gun Club.
You find me a trumpet.
Have gotten out.
Our obligations to our country never cease but with our lives. John Adams.
When someone gave Lincoln's gun to John Adams, we could use the help.
We'll do what we can.
Don't get us killed, and that might be enough. I have a brother fighting in Europe. His mama loses her boys to both Nazis and Japanese. Well, Hitler ain't got nothing on mama house.
That the ridge?
That's the one.
Oh, shit. You kidding? Are you insane?
Kibble, Pelford, Hernandez, you're with me.
Welcome.
Howard, you're our dragon. Once we clear the wire, we'll be under heavy fire. I need you to turn up the heat on these bastards.
You got it, Sarge.
Jackson, a word.
Yeah?
You're gonna help Private Howard get to that wire. And then
You're gonna keep him covered on the other side. Understood?
Look, in the sky, I'm your man. But this, I'm not the die face down in the mud type.
Then you shouldn't have got yourself shot down. There's a difference between suicide and sacrifice. You do well to learn it. No one quiet, boys. Howard, Jackson, to the left. The rest of you, on me. Jack, give me a hand.
Tommy got your hands dirty.
After you.
Need a hand. Quick. Bob, boy.
I can take that for you. I'm a fast learner.
Go. A lot heavier. How about
some payback? All right.
Let's hit that field box. Field box. Not bad, Jackson.